Fantasy Alarm NBA DFS show with John Impemba and James Grande.
What is going on, FA Nation? John Impemba here with James Grande. Welcome into the Fantasy Alarm NBA DFS Playbook live show. We are here for the Thursday 4-game main slate starting at 7 p.m. Eastern time. We got our TNT Thursday games here on the slate. We got Boston versus Washington, San Antonio versus Dallas, OKC versus Denver, and we finish it off here with Minnesota versus Sacramento. A slate loaded with potential MVP candidates here, top to bottom. We have obviously Minnesota and Boston playing for the second time this year. I got the playbooks out. All your pick'em articles are out by Grande. So it is time to dig in and have some fun on a 4-game slate.
Yeah, I mean, this is going to be one of the more fun 4 games. I mean, without like having the schedule in front of me, like one of the most fun 4-game slates we have on the year because we do have so many elite talents on the slate. The top 3 in MVP voting last year, the Rookie of the Year, the NBA champions, the what considered to be one of the most highest rising athletes in the world, Anthony Edwards. So there's a lot to like on this 4-game slate. Now there is a blowout attached to one of the games. There are a few situations, I think, where as Cameron pops in and first comment is about the blowout. I think like there are questions about some of the teams' rotations in this, and that's been topic I think of the week, right? Yeah. Where we've seen multiple situations already playing out where teams are running deeper rotations, and that is something that we need to be more wary of. And I think you get a good indication of teams that played a lot of their guys during the preseason versus they didn't. We have Sacramento. Their guys averaged 27 minutes per game in the preseason, where like the Spurs barely played their starters, barely played anyone. They have a very good head coach, but a crazy one at that. So how many players are the Spurs going to roll out tonight? We've seen it on multiple occasions. The Warriors played 12 guys. The
Suns.
The Suns played 11 in the first quarter. And the Grizzlies closed with Jay Huff and Scottie Pippen. So, like, these are situations we're going to have to monitor. I do think we got a good glimpse of teams that are going to extend their guys. Denver in the preseason extended their guys. Sacramento extended their guys. Minnesota played Anthony Edwards 41 minutes on opening night. So, like, those are obviously situations that we need to pay attention to. Washington, how many minutes are they going to even be competitive in this game? Right. A big loss for Boston tonight with Sam Hauser being out. I'm sure that's going to move the line a total of 0 points. So
it's a big loss for us.
It is a big loss it's a big loss for the blowout predictors, right?
Well, I mean, this slate didn't have a ton of value. He was $3,900. Like Sam Hauser was probably going to get a lot of love. Yeah. Tonight, he played, it was 24 minutes, I think it was, in that first game, and he took a whole bunch of shots, and now that's out. We have to figure out who is going to be that guy. They drafted Baylor Shearman. Is that how we're going?
Baylor Shearman. Yeah.
His role in college, he attempted the most 3-pointers in the NCAA. So, like, he was the natural fit replacement for Sam Hauser, but last year, they drafted Jordan Walsh. Jordan Walsh got it on the floor and blowout. Could very well be Jordan Walsh being the guy that takes the Sam Hauser run. Now, he's not going to play as much as Sam Hauser. That might actually put the Celtics starters a bit more in the flow, like if they're not going to lean in on those guys there. But so that's something to watch. We'll see if any more injury news does come through. He was really the only guy questionable coming into today's game. Everybody out that was out is out. Big names, that we have are all playing, which is good. It's a rarity, but like you said, for how long? Luka Doncic didn't play during the preseason. He's off the injury report. He's good to go, but is he going to roll out there and play 35 minutes? Or is he going to be 30 to 32 minutes? Wemby. You mentioned Pop saying he's not limited due to medical issues, but he could just be tired and could be limited to 30 minutes tonight. And we'll see what happens there. So, it is definitely interesting. We always say this early season NBA, there's price points to take advantage of. And then you have to deal and fade the coaches as well and try to figure out what they're going to do. Some are transparent. Steve Kerr said no one's going to play more than 32 minutes, and he rolled out 12 guys, right? So we'll see what happens there. And he's going to continue to roll out 12 guys as well. So double thumbs up for Steve Kerr there. Before we break it in, we do appreciate you all tuning in. If you want to hit that like, hit that subscribe, hit that share button. It's a free way to support the work we do here over at Fantasy Alarm. You see that QR code right up there on the screen, right? So we have a 7-day free trial going on. You get access to all of our premium content, our DFS playbooks for all sports. Get into our premium Discord as well. You get access to myself, James Grande, and the rest of the team there to get your lineup questions answered each and every day. Betting content, or you name it, we cover it. It's all behind the paywall. You get access to it for free for 7 days. Go to fantasyalarm.com/win. If you use promo code Let's Go when you sign up, that first month after your 7 days is less than $20. It's $19.97. So again, scan the QR code up in the top left corner, or go to fantasyalarm.com/win. Use promo code Let's Go and sign up today. Try us out for 7 days. You guys will not leave. I promise you that. So appreciate you guys in the chat already that are popping in. We got Cameron was in there. DePrince popping in, asking for his 2 values in the studs. We'll get you to there for your FanDuel slate there, DePrince. Jeff P popping back in. Sasha, welcome in. It's been good to have you back in with us for the NBA season. Justin, always in our Discord and in the streams with us here. Then MMA player following through games 1 through 10, regular season double-digit road favorites, 1-26. Do we think that's against the spread? That's not wins. Are the Celtics the 2-26-1 tonight? I guess we'll find out. So let's bring on the slate again. If you guys have questions, throw them in the chat. We'll pop them on the screen for you. But let's just get into tonight's action here. Again, 4 games kicking us off here. Point guard position. Luka Doncic is your top priced point guard on the slate. He is one of three guys over 10K. SGA is 99. Fox at 85. Top 3 point guards on the slate tonight.
Yeah, I mean, there's a case to all of them. Luka obviously is as good of a fantasy asset as it's gonna get. You mentioned it though, like for a guy who averaged 38 minutes a game over the course of 92 regular season games, how much is he going to play right off the bat? Mm-hmm. He's been dealing with a calf contusion that limited him to 0 minutes in the preseason. So, like, what are we expecting out of Luka? He said he feels great. He said he, quote, feels perfect is exactly what the quote was.
Sure he does.
And I would say, like, of all the guys that I don't feel needs any sort of ramp up, it's Luka because of the pace that he plays at. And he's never rushed. He's never looks like he's running full speed. And I don't think he ever is. And we see what he does defensively. I mean, he is, a lot help defender a lot where he's getting rebounds. So I could see Luka being full right away. I like SGA 99. I don't love SGA 99, but he is a very high ceiling player. There's a reason why he was second in the MVP voting, where a lot of people thought he should have won with their team finishing first in the Western Conference in terms of standing. So I like SGA. And then De'Aaron Fox, I mentioned it, like the Kings played their guys full run in the preseason. And I think that's worth mentioning. Mike Brown wanted to simulate what it's going to be and get their cardio going for the regular season. Plus, implementing a new piece in DeMar DeRozan is important to see more floor time. So I'm good with Fox. He's going to, when, you see it on the screen, he played 36 minutes a game last year. Like, that's not going to change. And I'd expect that right out of the gate for Fox. So I'm good getting to any and all the top 3, and obviously I'd rank them as they're listed as well.
Yeah, I'm fine with that as well. I think SGA is probably, it's not even fair to say mispriced because he has runs of consecutive 30 actual point games, just like time and time again. But on this particular slate where Jason Tatum is 93 or Anthony Edwards is 88, I just don't find myself willing to spend $9,900 for Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. that makes him an interesting GBP play tonight because, again, if you're building lineups, probably a lot of the same considerations are being made around SGA, but he could go for 60 fantasy points as likely as any of the other guys can. So, but I'm with you there. I'm not really getting to the price point. I do like Fox. In general, breakout season from him last year. Adding DeMar DeRozan can help in two different ways. One, could help with his assist numbers if he's dishing out and giving more opportunities for a guy that can be a reliable scorer on that offense. I mean, he was really begging for somebody to kind of help out and score the basketball at times last year. If it wasn't, Sabonis is a good player, but he's not like a 30 point per game, not even like a 25 point per game guy, Well, DDR can be that for him, but also DeMar DeRozan was a really good facilitator at times for the Bulls as well, and therefore can open up some opportunities where he plays with Fox and draws coverage and Fox gets easier look. So I like Fox at $8,500. I'll talk about Kyrie at the shooting guard position, but we got Poole, we got Murray, and we have Drew Holiday as sort of that next grouping of point guards on this slate. Murray is the interesting case for us here because we know what his ceiling can be. We also saw him struggle at times last year. Injuries have obviously delimited him over the last couple of years. Supposedly, though, he's coming in tonight and is good to go. Should be a competitive back and forth game. He's $7,300. Where does Murray fit in the point guard pool for you?
He's fine. I mean, I think Denver is well conditioned in this game, and obviously they're the team acclimated to their, the elements that are in Denver. Russell Westbrook was their only addition this offseason. I mean, Dario Saric, but like their big time acquisition was Russell Westbrook, where 2 years in a row, they've now like lost somebody. They lost Bruce Brown after the championship. They lost Kentavious Caldwell-Pope this year. And I think that is, and they paid Jamal Murray. They gave him over $200 million this offseason. So you're not getting a $200 million contract if if you're not expected to play 70 games and help them get to another championship. So I like 7,300. I think it's a misprice if we're going to get full run out of Murray, and there's nothing suggesting we won't. I'd assume like minutes for Murray are on the up and up from where they were last year. 32. I can see a case for Murray like 34, 35, because you can always take Christian Brown off the floor for Westbrook if you needed more offense, or if you wanted to go with like like a more ferocious defensive look, you go like Brown to the 3 and you bring Westbrook and Murray in the backcourt. Like there's a bunch of different lineups they can mess with there, but I like 73 for Murray. I do think Jordan Poole, if you are in the minority and think the game is somewhat competitive, he's interesting only because we don't know what it's going to look like with him playing full on point guard, right? Like that's where they're playing him this year.
Mm-hmm.
And like, does that mean the scoring doesn't necessarily drop off from where it was last year, but there's also added from 4 assists to 6 assists, right? And then we kind of have a different perspective on Jordan Poole. Washington is going to be a bad team, but Jordan Poole obviously can, keep them in games when he shoots the ball well. And I think we thought Drew Holiday was going to be limited, and he really wasn't at all. He played 28 minutes, would have played more in a competitive game, and he didn't miss any shots. So if you want to play Drew Holiday at $6,000, you can. Do I still prefer the multi-position Derek White to like if I'm picking between the two, even though one of them's more expensive than the other? I do lean Derek White's direction, but no problems getting to Holiday in like a cash game.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think that's fine, especially given the matchup there. Mid-tier guys for you, any or mid to value, obviously, as the player pool begins to shrink. Peyton Pritchard is going to be someone that's on a lot of lineups here tonight. Obviously, he missed all of his shots, but he had the opportunity to shoot. Now, no Sam Hauser could even lead him to be taking more shots when he's on the floor. We don't really know who's going to fill in for the Hauser minutes. It could be Xavier Tillman. Could see Jordan Walsh take a step forward and play some minutes here tonight without Hauser, but Pritchard's going to shoot when he's out there.
Yeah, I mean, there's multiple paths to Pritchard getting there, right? One is he plays his normal role and he makes shots. 2, he plays his normal role, Boston blows out, and then he's playing the entire fourth. And you just have Peyton Pritchard 24 minutes again. And Peyton Pritchard 24 minutes, he's not going 1 of 10. He shot 46% from the floor last year and 38% from three. That's a good basketball player that they paid. So I like Pritchard at 43. I like Westbrook at 5K. I do think that there's going to be like really good opportunity for Westbrook here. I was looking at some because I played a Westbrook points and rebounds pick today over on Sleeper, and in a reserve role in LA last year, about 60 games, he started like 11 of them in the regular season. Like this guy was 20 minutes a game, 10, 5, and 5. I expect that role to be a little higher on Denver, just considering what the Clippers had versus what Denver has. There's not a lot. So I like Westbrook at 5K. I'm a little shocked to see, I just updated the ownership over at fantasyalarm.com right now. So you guys can get that. I'm a little surprised to see like one bad game from Dante DiVincenzo, right? And everybody moves off of the chalk. But like, what are the most important things that we saw from Dante DiVincenzo?
Minutes.
Dude, he played 32 minutes and he closed the game over Mike Conley, right? It's like, and you and I talked about it on the show last night. Mike Conley's not going to play 20 minutes every night. I think that would be like a little naive to think that like he's going to play 20 every night. But there's clearly a limit, at least now, and like a very hard limit on Mike Conley. Even if he played 20 minutes, okay, DiVincenzo plays 28. I'm super comfortable with DiVincenzo at 28 minutes at 5,200. He went 3 of 11 from the field, 2 for 8 from 3. 11 shots, 8 threes in 32 minutes for a guy that gave us 3 assists, 3 rebounds, and 2 steals. I'm perfectly fine going right back to the well, knowing that he can fill it up and knowing, oh, well, he didn't pay it off last game, so we're not going to play him this game. Right. Like, that's just a good way to take advantage of, low owned players that should be higher owned, but recency bias plays a factor in that.
I agree. Really like DiVincenzo here. Was surprised to see him as low as he is. Anybody else for you at point guard?
No.
Okay. We got there. That's nobody. Shooting guard. Anthony Edwards is $8,800. We had some messages earlier that I think mentioned Edwards here. Cameron, jumping ahead, but Jokic and Edwards are must plays. We kind of talked about it. Like, this is not a correct price for what Anthony Edwards is going to be. The man took 25 shots. He took 13 threes, which is probably close to what he's going to average this year. If you look at his preseason numbers, it's what he was doing. He was chucking from 3, and he was taking a whole lot of shots. I don't anticipate that differing. I understand that we think Julius Randle will have better performances, this season, but I still think Anthony Edwards is locked in for 20 shots a night. So you got this guy at $8,800. I kind of like held myself from saying it, but why is SGA $1,100 more dollars than Anthony Edwards? Like, they're very similar in what they can both do offensively, filling up the stat sheet, defensively. I'll take the discount on Anthony Edwards today.
Yeah, and 41 minutes right out of the gate. 41 minutes. No care in the world what his minutes are going to look like. If that's what we're going to get for regular season Ant, where he's just playing 40 minutes, then he should be near 10K and not near 9K.
I agree. So again, I'm with you there, Cameron. He is locked into my lineups tonight. Should probably be, on this type of slate. You would think a bit more rostered. He's kind of in the middle of the pack. We'll see how it all ends up actually playing out come roster lock, but I'm right there with you. Jaylen Brown and Kyrie Irving are both kind of interesting. If you think that Luka is at all limited, you have Kyrie at $7,500, a really great price point for him. And then Jaylen Brown had a good game, but he was like the 4th highest scoring Celtic because everybody else also hit shots and Tatum did what he did. But we've also seen plenty of games last year where an 8K Jaylen Brown went out for like 45 fantasy points. It was like the best per dollar Celtic player out there. So if you had to pick between one of the two here, I'm assuming you're leaning Kyrie, but what's your overall thoughts?
I like the Kyrie price point better than Jalen. I also have maybe a little more faith that game we'd see Kyrie in the fourth versus Jalen. Now we will see Jalen in the fourth because the way that the Celtics like run their rotation, he'll like start the fourth quarter, which isn't the worst. We wouldn't see Tatum in that, right? Because Tatum would play the whole third, and then
he plays the whole first and the whole third, right?
So then you lose like that, and
the whole first and the whole
first and whole third, whole first and whole third, and you get Jalen on that like early sub pattern where he'll come in and he'll play the fourth. So you'd get Jalen in the fourth, but just not like extended fourth quarter minutes. I do like, I give it obviously the edge to Brown in position eligibility. Shooting guard, small forward is as better as it gets. I just saw a comment, Anthony Davis and Anthony Edwards, they were guarding each other. That's totally valid, Anthony. They were guarding each other in that game. So yeah, Davis took Anthony Edwards to school because Anthony Edwards was being guarded by Anthony Davis. But yeah, I mean, I lean Kyrie, but I don't have a problem. We talk about Jaylen Brown often. He's often overlooked in DFS. And like, I don't fault people for it because, in the past, he hasn't been great peripherally. He's definitely improving there. So if you want to get to Jaylen Brown, by all means, I do lean Kyrie. Honestly, like, if I were to like rank out my Celtics tonight, Derek White might be 1 or like Tatum 1.
Okay. From like a per dollar.
Per dollar.
Okay.
Per dollar. Like on a night, if we're playing the single game, like Jaylen Brown, just you pick him over Derek White. But like per dollar, when we're factoring salary in.
I mean, White outscored him the other day, so like not a huge deal there. Did like the shout because it had to refresh my memory that they had Tatum play the whole first 7.5 points or 8.5 points rather is his first quarter scoring prop for today for JT. Could easily go over there if he's getting all 12 against the Wizards here. Obviously smaller slate, so pricing does kind of jump down a little bit. Clay at 59, Kispert. Some guys we talked about with DDV and Westbrook, but we have Blake Monk at 5K. We have Alex Caruso is actually getting some ownership love here tonight.
He is.
We did talk a little bit about him on the preview show. For those of you who tuned into that, where are we looking to go when it comes to this mid-tier shooting guard?
I mean, it's not like a tier that I am in love with. I'm not playing Klay Thompson 59. We'll wait and see how that plays out. We have no idea what Washington's starting lineup is going to look like. Is it Kispert? Is Kispert off the bench? At 5,800 off the bench for Washington, that would feel like kind of gross. You can always play Malik Monk in tournaments. 5K is a very good price tag for a guy who's going to play mid to high 20s minutes, depending on like if he gets going. You could see Monk get 30 minutes, right? We've seen that a lot. I know they are bringing Herter back right away off injury, and he's starting, so that does mean Monk is coming off the bench. I think OKC. Circle them, pencil them in as one of the teams that is a wild card tonight.
Sure.
They were there was a beat reporter that asked Mark Dagnall. He and Dagnall pretty much was like, "Yeah, I'm not telling you my rotation, and everything's fluid." And then he went on to say like, "It's going to be fluid moving forward." So like they're like basically just testing things throughout, and they should, right? Is when Hartenstein comes back, does he fit in the starting lineup? Does Caruso fit in the starting lineup? Do both fit on the bench? There's the Thunder are going to be very hard to predict outside of their top 3, right? We know like the 3 that are penciled in. Everything else is kind of like, I think Caruso is fine. I am a little indifferent about it, but at 4,800, it is what it is. I think that is in large part, how do I fit 2 stars into my lineup tonight? I need value. Caruso has been a guy that can stuff the stat sheet. So
we have 2 values here as well to talk about. One was mentioned in chat, one that you also talked about on the show. That's Julian Strother. We also have NAW, who played 24 minutes and had 14 points in that game the other night. Which would you prefer on this slate? Do we think Strother gets in and actually makes an impact right away, or we know what NAW likely is playing for Minnesota?
I would say the second part about NAW's minutes, I definitely agree that he will be in the rotation. I do think that it largely has to do with Jaden McDaniels being in and out of foul trouble.
Okay.
I think like his minutes are going to fluctuate throughout the year because of that. Just given like you take out really elite defender because he's in foul trouble, I can put in another really elite defender. I don't think having them on the floor when they need points makes a lot of sense because neither of those dudes are going to provide it for you really.
Yeah, we said that before about NAW. He scored 40.
Well, that was also team to himself NAW. He did, there are still definitely some guys over there right now. I would say I definitely think Strother produces right away. Behind just peek behind the curtain, John.
Sure.
In the lineup that I have currently built, I am using Julian Strother.
Okay.
At $3,200. I think he's in their top 7. We know they're starting 5. That hasn't changed. I mean, I guess outside of KCP out, Christian Brown in.
Right.
Westbrook's your 6th man. Julian Strother was their leading scorer in the preseason and was in their regular rotation in the preseason. Like, not like just because it's preseason, like he just was very good in the preseason playing. So I do think he's their first wing off the bench, because when you look at the construction of the team, he's the only one outside of Michael Porter that's like catch and shoot. And like Jamal Murray was good at shooting last year. Aaron Gordon wasn't at all. And Russell Westbrook wasn't and isn't. And Christian Brown shot fine from 3, but not like anywhere enough volume to be that guy. So I do think Strother produces right away. I do think he's in play. And if you need $900 going from NAW to Strother, I think that makes sense as well.
Sure.
Now, like you said, though, we've seen the way that Minnesota's rotation played out in a game that Jaden McDaniels gets in foul trouble, and he played 30 minutes or close to it, right? So there's that case. I don't think Strother would play 30 minutes. So I think in terms of like minute ceilings, NAW's is higher than Strother. But I also think Strother offensively is just leaps and bounds better than NAW. So, one guy's 41, one guy's 32. One guy also has shooting guard, small forward. I think Strother fits a little bit better tonight. So I am currently playing Strother in that scenario over NAW.
All right. Small forward has Jason Tatum, has Kyle Kuzma, has DeMar DeRozan, has Jalen Williams, your top 4 priced guys. Obviously, DDR, new team. Jalen Williams, we're expecting big things from here in year 3 out of him. And then Tatum, lit the world on fire on opening night. 8 of 14, 8 of 11 from 3, 10 of 14 from the floor, had 10 assists, had 37 points. He did it all in 30 minutes, something he could certainly do tonight. Where are you looking to go when it comes to small forward? I think we had a comment on Tatum here somewhere. Anthony, are we loading up on Tatum and Sabonis here tonight? Well, we'll hit that first part right now.
I mean, I have no problem playing Jason Tatum. If Jason Tatum scores you 37 and 10 and 4 and a steal again, or anywhere close to that, and plays 30 minutes, then yeah. If you get a full game out of Jason Tatum against the Wizards, there's probably a lot of you probably definitely want Wizards in that case. Or Boston's having an awful game. So one of those 2 scenarios are playing out. The obvious risk is, and we say this a lot, if the game blows out, how did it blow out, right? Well, look how it blew out in the first game. They didn't miss. They made 29 threes. Jason Tatum made 8 of them. Yep. Jason Tatum goes out and makes 8 threes again. Well, you're going to need Jason Tatum because he broke the slate again.
I'm going to go for 60.
Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, there's obviously a case. There's a case to be made that per dollar he's better than anyone above 10K, right? None of those guys have played a game yet. Tatum's played a game. He has the best matchup of all the stars. Like,
he's cheaper.
So, and he's significantly cheaper than all of them. So, yeah, I mean, there's a legitimate case for Jason Tatum. to get into all your builds. I think Jason Tatum's super safe tonight with obviously the ceiling he showed in game 1. So yeah,
And
no problem getting Tatum.
There's a reason why he is also projected to be the highest roster player for today's slate.
Exactly. I mean, I think you're gonna see a lot of lineups, Jokic Tatum or Luka Tatum, right? That's gonna be a lot of where people start their builds.
Yeah.
Because we're looking at basically split ownership on Luka and Jokic right now.
Yep.
So like people are just like, all right, I'm gonna play one of them, and then I'm gonna get to another star, and then fair and balance the rest of my fair and balance my life away.
Yeah. And it's funny because last year there were, multiple slates where, in a lot of slates where Tatum was 10K and you and I would go over, we're like, 10K Tatum's fine. Like if everybody's in, you probably can, maybe cash games. If this is what he's going to be doing, then 10K is going to be too cheap and we'll take advantage of the 93. Anthony, just kind of run down your slew of questions here. Pritchard is playable. Yes. Is Harry B playable for you? A new Spurs member here at 45.
So I think the Spurs are a wild card in general. And I think perfect timing on Power's question. I think the Spurs are incredibly unpredictable. One, we don't know what the starting lineups would be without Vassell, right? Assuming Chris Paul, assuming Wemby, assuming Sohan and Harrison Barnes. I think those 4 are pretty much solidified. The 5th starter could be Malachi Branham, could be Champagny, could be rookie Castle. Like could be Keldon Johnson if they wanted to go like super big lineup, right? We don't know. I assume Trey Jones is off the bench. I saw we had a comment about Trey Jones. It definitely affects Trey Jones having Chris Paul there. They'll split the point guard minutes. It's just a very unpredictable kind of dynamic in San Antonio because there wasn't a lot of minutes in preseason outside of like Jeremy Sohan, who played a boatload of minutes in the preseason. Harrison Barnes played a good amount. I just like Harry B is so boring of a player to me, and going to San Antonio is not going to make him any less boring. He's just a 3-and-D player that grabs a couple rebounds and does nothing else. He just might stumble his way into a steal, might find himself with an assist because Wemby did something freakish, but there's not like a lot of meat on the bone for Harry B. So
and there's another Spur that you like that we'll talk about in another position here. So below that grouping, I know we went very deep into Tatum and kind of derailed a little bit, but DDR a 78, Jalen Williams 69. Are you again, we know how we feel about Jalen Williams. We mentioned obviously the OKC Thunder rotation. He should be pretty safe. Like I think that question's more so on like Dort and Caruso and how they're going to kind of work their rotation. But where are you with DeRozan and Jalen Williams here?
Yeah, I mean, I think DeRozan's fine. Again, the full capacity of minutes for DeRozan in the preseason, 7,800. Price didn't really change from his Chicago days. I've obviously like his role's gonna probably be different. Him and Sabonis looked really good together in pick and roll, pick and pop situations. So I expect that partnership to blossom. Jalen Williams was talking about that sprained ankle he was dealing with. He said that a couple extra days have helped. So I guess we'll see. I don't think that there's an expectation of limit.
Yeah.
But Mark Dagnall said the situation fluid. Jalen Williams coming off the sprained ankle for a guy who played 32 minutes a game during the regular season or during the year last year. 32 minutes included all the postseason games in which he played 34 plus. So like that was closer to 30 minutes a game, right? Coming off a sprained ankle. I'm a little less bullish on Williams than I was last night, only because he's 7K. And I think, a lot of players look like him at 7K that might not be limited or are cheaper that might not be limited. My affinity for Jalen Williams, the player. So like he can go out there and smash and wouldn't be surprising. But I'd say I'd taken a little step back on Williams today in terms of like prioritization. But like if you end up on Jalen Williams, you might have 26-6, 2 steals and a block tonight. And you're like, oh, right. That's the Jalen Williams.
Agreed. Michael Porter Jr. is 58, and we got Malik Monk at 5K. Monk didn't really do much, didn't play during the preseason, right? So
he did, but he got hurt and then just didn't play. I love Porter. Very bullish on Michael Porter. They need his spacing. He was great in the preseason, 16 points per game in 21 minutes.
Yeah.
Like obviously over per 36, that's
a lot.
I wrote it down at 26 points. Well, I wrote up a prop tonight for Michael Porter, or I wrote up a pick and play for Michael Porter on Underdog Fantasy. And per 36, that's 26 points per game. I'm not saying Michael Porter is going to go out and play 36 minutes and score 26 points, but like he said it in the preseason, he needs to be able to score at other levels than just shoot the ball. Not that, he took 635 threes last year. He's going to take a lot of threes again this year because they need him to. But I love the fit on a team that needs him to score the basketball, because I think like there's question marks about their depth and stuff. So 5,800 is too cheap for a guy that he's a good rebounder too.
Yeah.
Like, would it be surprising if Michael Porter went out game one like 24-9 tonight, and you're like, right, get 6 threes because that's what Michael Porter can do. So
it's in his bag. He averaged 7 rebounds last year and like 16 points. So
yep. So I like Michael Porter quite a bit. I'm very bullish on him.
Any value at small forward? Again, we obviously had Hauser now no longer on the slate. You got Kulipali. You could have Champagny, as we talked about. Anybody else down here? Kevin Huerter is going to start. Christian Braun's going to start.
Yeah, like all these plays are secondary. Like, what does Kevin Huerter play? 4,500, just coming off an injury. Malik Monk behind him, right? Yep. Where does he even fit on this team? We saw him phased out last year at times, right? He needs to shoot.
He was going to be traded.
Yeah, if he can't shoot, he's not going to play. That's pretty much what it is. Yep. Christian Braun's going to start. He is like 5th option like every night, and probably more 6th option because Westbrook exists, and maybe sometimes 7th when Julian Schroeder is filling it up. So like, he's fine. He's a good peripheral guy, but I want that price to be like 38, 39 to like really want to get there. If Koulibaly starts, I think that there's a case for him, because I'd assume he'd be on the floor even in a blowout, because you want the development for Bilal Koulibaly. We'll see if Champagny starts. The San Antonio Champagny, Washington Champagny not in play. So just to be clear, they're literally priced next to each other. Yep. They're like same position. So San Antonio Champagny, not Washington Champagny, is the one we're talking about. Quentin Grimes had a really good preseason. I don't think we can go there. Joe Ingles weirdly played a lot of minutes in the first game. Don't think we need to go there. So
what did he get for minutes in the opening night?
He played. I just had it open.
He didn't do too much with them. I know that.
No. I should say he played more minutes than any human being on the planet probably expected him to play. I'm not saying he played a lot. He played 7. That's 7 more than Joe Ingles should have.
I was going to say, I didn't remember him playing a ton of minutes, but yeah, that's fair. That's probably it though here. Power forward. Got some bonus, dual positional eligibility, 95. We didn't really dive in on Kuzma, but he's there at 8K. Randall, I actually think Randall's in for a better night tonight than he had the other day. I don't mind Randall. I don't mind the price point at $7,800. And then Chet, 75. Gonna have his hands full tonight, having to deal with Nikola Jokic here. So, what are your thoughts on the top guys?
Yeah, I mean, I'm good with really all of them. Sabonis is obviously what he is. He's a nightly triple-double, nightly double-double threat. So perfectly fine getting there. Also, great added Sabonis is that he's now power forward center eligible, right? That's not something that we've seen outside of FanDuel eligibility. So Sabonis with the multi-position eligibility is nice. Kuzma is fine in tournaments if you think Washington stands a chance. That's the only way you're playing Kuzma, because if you're thinking that this game's a blowout, well, he's only going to play 3 quarters. I do agree on the Julius Randle front. I think the most important Julius Randle note was that he played 34 minutes. More than anything else. 16, 9, and 4 is fine. 34 minutes right out of the gate, where we were kind of questioning if there was going to be any sort of limitations. There was not. So have to love the 34 minutes. Plus, they basically played 8 guys. Ingles played 7 minutes. Every other one, they played 8 guys. Like,
Yeah.
That's it. So love the minutes from Randall. I've kind of come around on Chet a little bit today. Weirdly, didn't get in much foul trouble against Denver last year. I know we've seen some comments in chat already, like just as we're worrying about Chet being in foul trouble. He didn't get in a lot of foul trouble last year against Denver. That's not me saying he's not going to, but I'm not like going into the slate just assuming he's going to be in foul trouble. Because he is a very good defender, and he might as well like maybe he just lets Jokic score, or they help on Jokic all the time, right? And there's doubling. We don't know what the defensive scheme is for OKC tonight. So like they're gonna give him help. It's Jokic. Knowing that Denver doesn't have the shooting they did last year, why wouldn't they give help off Aaron Gordon and help off Christian Brown? So I think Chet's a great play, 60-75. They're gonna need his size, just knowing that there's no Jalen with a Y in the lineup.
Yeah. And he's a defensive player of the year candidate for this year.
And he's a defensive player of the year, and there's no Hartenstein. So they're missing their top two centers. And even when they go small ball center with Kendrick Williams, like he's out as well. So Ousmane Dieng is like expected to be their backup center tonight. Yeah. So I think Chet's perfectly fine at 75. He'd be the second Thunder player I'd get to outside of SGA, like that, maybe even one because he's better priced. But yeah, I think Chet's a great play. So anyone $7,500 and up, I'd be in.
Chet currently third in betting odds for defensive player of the year. It's Wemby minus 170, big favorite, and then Bam and Chet plus 1,100, plus 1,200. So it's not as if Chet couldn't necessarily hold his own. It's just he's giving up like 50 pounds to Joker here and one of them in the league MVP. So you just don't feel as good about that. We did get confirmation that Luka will play tonight. I didn't know if that was up in the air or not, but official status came down that he will be active. I don't know if like that status has me worried about like his overall status of the game. Like, sure, he's active. Did we need to know he was going to be active? Like, was that a question?
The question asked, I was just looking it up, was who's available, and Jason Kidd said everyone but Exum. He was just dealing with the calf. So I think like just like precautionary reasons because he's on the injury report with the calf, but like expected to play. So everyone but Dante Exum, who's going to miss a lot of time.
Anybody else here at power forward that you have interest in?
Aaron Gordon's fine.
PJ Washington.
Yeah, I think both those guys are good. Naz Reid, 26 minutes off the bench. All three bigs played a big role. So I love Naz Reid, 51. Another guy that missed a bunch of shots but played a bunch of minutes. Like you went 3 for 8. Naz Reid can also go like hit 5 threes tonight, and you're like, oh right, sixth man of the year last year. So yeah, like Naz Reid, PJ's always fine. Keegan Murray, I think he's going to guard Ant for most of the night. He's their best perimeter defender, and that's usually what they do. They use him on the opposing team's best player.
I'm less in on Keegan this year because DeRozan is there. Like I worry about he's now like stuck to his 7 shots a game probably now. And
no, I think he's still double figures. I think it's double figures. Yeah, I still think it's double figures. I also think, we talked about it. He was so weirdly good at home last year versus the road.
Yeah.
And he had all those big games at home. There was like blatant shooting.
He knows his sweet spot.
Discrepancies. Yeah. I mean, at home, I like the price. He's a good rebounder. So 5,500 for Keegan, who's going to play big minutes. And I think that's another thing, right? We know Keegan Murray, if he's out of foul trouble, he's playing 37, 38 minutes. Mm-hmm. He's going to match Edwards. So yeah, I like that whole like range. And then I like Jeremy Sohan in the value tier, 4,600. He was playing really big minutes. I do think like the point guard experiment last year paid off for him because there's multiple facets that he can get things. He's a good passer. He's a good rebounder. He can score the basketball a little bit. So where he's not going to like shoot threes and stuff. We know Wemby is, hasn't yet ascended to like the 30-point per game scorer that he will eventually be. And maybe that is this year, but coming into the year, he averaged 21 last year. So I like Sohan. He's the most comfortable I am with any Spurs in terms of minutes because he was the only Spur that like outside of Harrison Barnes that was like really extended in the preseason. So I like Sohan a little bit at 46. And yeah, there's IC through. His affinity for PJ Washington knows no bounds, dude. Knows no bounds. The Wolverine meme where like Wolverine has the picture and he's looking at the picture. That is icy through you with PJ Washington.
I mean, I had the one PJ Washington game last year.
You did when he was still in Charlotte.
When he was with Charlotte. We broke it down too. Like it was the 1,000% correct read on that game. I wish I could I could probably game log it and find out if we really.
It was very early. It was very early in the year.
Yeah, he had like a double, right? It was one of his double games here. Just the matchup, just like screamed like this is a spot for PJ Washington. We played him, came through. It was about the only time it happened all year. All right. Anything else for you down here, power forward?
Only thing I would mention is you did mention the Tillman thing. Maybe he's extended a little bit. And then Ousmane Dieng could be another one that's extended because OKC just doesn't have depth. That would be one I'd toy with because he's so free. He's $3,100, but like ultimately it's like that's an MME type play. Like you're only really getting to Ousmane Dieng if you're max entering something.
Yep. There was a Celtics beat writer that suggested Jordan Walsh could get the early run off the bench for the Celtics here, which is kind of what we had thought. But yeah, Xavier Tillman could certainly be a guy that just benefits like overall from minutes there. So, that's a good shout. Plus, we'll go to center here. We'll talk about Al Horford in a moment. But if Xavier Tillman's just getting more minutes on the floor, like he can rotate the 4 and the 5, like he could, these next two games, we talked about it on the preview show. I don't think Al Horford plays both of them. He's obviously playing tonight. He probably doesn't play against the Pistons, I would assume, coming up on Saturday. But, like, there's definitely no reason to rush him. Now, he played 30 minutes in that game against the Knicks, but they had Towns. Like, they needed his body there a little bit. Like, wouldn't shock me if Horford we got a little bit more of a run of rest here tonight, but we'll see about that. Centers. Joker's 11K. Nobody's playing Wemby according to rostership. They're all worried about the same thing that we've talked about. The books aren't worried, though. 40.5 PRA, 5.5 blocks plus steals tonight. I mean,
a lot. That's a lot.
5.5 blocks plus steals is 15, 16 fantasy points alone. And then 40.5 PRA, if you would just assume that everything was 1 point, would mean you're looking at like 56 fantasy points, but you get 1.5 for assists and 1.2 for rebounds. So, like, their betting wise, his props come out to like 60 plus fantasy points. So they don't seem to be too concerned about a minutes restriction. If you think he is going to be limited, go hammer the under on those. But Joker's there at 11K. Wemby, Sabonis at 95. I like Sabonis here. He had a lot of success even last year against this team in Minnesota. What are your thoughts spending up here at center?
Yeah, I love Jokic. He's currently I ranked him 1 on the podcast. I haven't changed that opinion. I think he's still number 1. We're going to see another Jokic season. We're going to see another Jokic game right out of this shoot. So he's my top overall spend on the day. The Wemby thing is interesting because the quotes, right? Not a minutes restriction because of medical, right, but he's going to be tired. But like, players are tired all the time and still succeed. But also, like, there's quotes from Popovich where he said, like, he expects Wemby to struggle opening the season because they only played 19 minutes. And, like, I would expect they have a plan, right? Like, there is a plan somewhere in place to, like, get Wemby's minutes to gradual, where, like, there's just free reign. If they want him to play 48, he could play 48, right? Yeah. So I assume it's like if I were to like project Wemby's minutes, I'd put them at 30 with like wiggle room probably to like 32. Sure. But if 32 minutes for Wemby is not 32 minutes for other players, like that's where the numbers that you're talking about like are easily obtained. Usually, like, you need 35, 36 for, like, normal players to get. I mean,
we just saw what Tatum did in 30 minutes the other day. He went up for 67 fantasy points. So it's not impossible that Wemby goes out there. And his blocks prop is at 4.5 today. So like he goes out there and gets you 5 blocks in 30 minutes and gives you his 25 and 10. You're probably okay. Again, Sabonis at 95. I do like the price for him here. I'm okay paying that in this matchup. He just facilitates the offense. They run it through him a lot of the time. So happy to do that. As I mentioned, I do think Randall has a better game tonight than he had the other day. As he that was only their second time playing in a game together. So you continue to sort of develop that chemistry here. I'm good with it. Gobert had a good game. Again, don't mind the spot for him. So, like, there's some good center options tonight.
There are some good center options. And the one thing we know about Gobert, no one's going to play him. No one's going to play Gobert.
Ever plays him. No.
Ever. And nobody appreciates Gobert. He had 14 boards in that first game. He had 23 potential rebounds in that first game. 23 potential boards. I mean, if he comes down with 3 or 4 more, you're talking about a guy who was like, what did he score? 14?
Yeah.
13 points and like 18 rebounds. I mean, that's a monster game for a $7,200 player. And also, there's one thing that, Rudy Gobert always does in the NBA, specifically in the regular season. He plays minutes.
Yep.
He is going to eat a lot of minutes. So, yeah, I'm good getting to Gobert. And I like the whole center tier in general.
I agree. We did have a question from IC3U. Which Dallas center? They did start Gafford in the last preseason game over Lively. I think both are fine. We know Gafford can be a high fantasy point per minute guy. We know he can score. Lively, more of a defensive player, rebound guy, gonna get lobs. Both of them are gonna have to deal with Wembanyama. Gafford could go out there. We've seen this plenty of times. 3 quick fouls, and he's on the bench, right? So, definitely risky. He's playing a Dallas center tonight against San Antonio.
So Brad Townsend, beat writer for the Dallas Morning News, asked Jason Kidd if he had a starting center, and Jason Kidd said, "Yep, we do, and he'll be out there tonight." And to your point, he said Gafford primarily worked with the starters and is listed in the media notes as the probable starter. So we'll see. Luka has an infinity for Derek Lively. That was known pretty quickly how much he liked him last year. So we'll see who the starter is. I don't think it matters. I think they're going to split minutes, and probably whoever's the hotter, better player throughout the night probably plays more. So you just have it's a guessing game, right? Like Gafford may start and Lively might just be better and Lively closes, or vice versa. So Gafford's cheaper. I don't have a problem getting to either of them because they're both similar. Like they both can rebound, they both can block shots, they both catch lobs and are very efficient around the rim. So if you end up getting to a Dallas center, sure, right?
Yeah.
Just hopefully for your sake or whoever's sake is playing Dallas center, you pick the right one, because on a night-to-night basis, it's going to be tough to figure out.
We'll build our lineup, but this is definitely doable. Because Sabonis isn't crazy high. I mean, he's up there, but he's not a 10K plus. Edwards, as we've talked about, is way too cheap. So you're spending up for Joker as your top guy. There's risky value, but it's definitely doable to go the 3 stars and scrubs route tonight.
Yes.
It's not on a slate like this. You can do it. I made a lineup that I showed James that was a bit more fair and balanced, but still had 3 very good players in it because of the way the pricing is tonight. So, definitely can do it a couple of different ways, and we'll get a lineup going right now, actually. So
right now, look at that. Love it when a plan comes together.
Right now, we'll build a lineup. Where do we want to begin, though? Jason Tatum, probably, I think is what we mentioned.
Sure. Tatum, Jokic, Tatum, Wemby, right? That's probably
power forward or small forward. Probably. They're all
Michael Porter, because I'd like to play Michael Porter if we can, so it doesn't matter. Both are same position.
That's a bonus, not Tatum.
That's a bonus, not Tatum. Those two are different.
All right. 40-70. I guess we got to get Peyton Pritchard in here.
Yeah, fast PP.
And then you're in on Strother, right?
It just depends. It just depends on roster construction. I'm playing two studs. So
right. So we did Strother and Pritchard. That's 55. Basically, a play for guard, forward, and util. DDV.
Yep.
We're going back there. Reed can go back to Nas.
Yep.
That gives us a 61 util. I don't know, Chris Paul.
I don't like this. I don't like this tier.
I don't like this tier.
I don't love this. I don't love this tier.
Let's see. What if we go down from Jokic, go to Wemby? That's 64. Basically the same group.
You could. The pivot there would probably be going down to Sabonis, and then you have whatever you basically want to get after that.
Yeah, Sabonis would be 76. How do we get Anthony Edwards? That's the question.
We move
off DDV, go to Edwards, 4K util, Luke Cornett, Xavier Tillman. You're really punting some Celtics here. Seems very difficult to do.
Yeah, I don't think they're because there's like not the risk with like the Champagne play is there, or like whoever's the fifth starter for San Antonio.
Yeah,
just like we don't know what their plan is.
You play Gobert, and we're right back to the tier that we absolutely despise.
Yeah.
All right. So, man, I really like it. You're in. Would you sacrifice Porter to play Edwards and Sabonis?
If you want, sure.
I'm asking you. You said you really wanted to play.
I mean, I like Michael Porter, but if we find a roster construction that doesn't include Michael Porter, I'm also fine with that.
Like if we did, let's see, small forward.
You can play Strother. You can also play Strother at small forward if you want.
Okay, good to know. Power forward, Nas Reed. Forward in 49, you had Sohan was down here, right?
Sohan DDV.
Yeah, Sohan DDV. Pritchard, Strother, Tatum, Reed, Sabonis, Edwards, Sohan, and DDV.
Stars and scrubs.
Yep.
We have 1, 2, 3.
It's really just one scrub.
Four bench mobs.
Yeah, well, bench mobs that play, right? You know, bench mobs that play at least.
Yes,
we're hoping that Strother plays some minutes and hits some shots, but it's centered around a good core, obviously, of Edwards, Sabonis, and Tatum here.
Yeah, I don't have a problem with it. I don't have a problem with it at all.
So tournaments, guys, it's 4-game slate. Have some fun with it. Again, the player pool, there's a lot of high-end talent here that you can kind of build around and get some lineups in. So. We do appreciate you all tuning in. We'll have the preview show again tonight, hopefully with no audio issues. And then we will have the live stream again tomorrow at 5 p.m. Eastern time to get you ready for the big Friday slate. James will be on the playbook for that, so be on the lookout there. Get us in the Discord. Again, scan that QR code right up there. I saw one of you guys did scan it. They're taking advantage of the 7-day free trial. Why wouldn't you? 7 days for free. Costs you nothing. Scan the QR code or go to fantasyslam.com/win. Use promo code Let's Go. 7-day free trial. When it ends, that first month is less than $20. You can cancel it anytime, though. Cancel before your 7-day free trial ends and you don't get charged. So it's for free. You can't really beat free. You get more than just our NBA stuff. All right, there's a lot of people out there, a lot of other sites offering you trials right now, but it's only for their NBA product. You get all of our content for free for 7 days. All sports free, 7 days. No restrictions. No limitations. fantasyslam.com/win. Promo code Let's Go. First month after that 7-day free trial is less than $20. You can win that tonight. Pay for the month. You'll be happy. So go do it. Sign up. Become a member of the family. James and I will be back tomorrow. Get us on Twitter. Find us in the Discord. Good luck, everybody. We'll talk to you later.